Hi, today I want to make a video about multifilament tennis strings, more specifically why the price variance in multifilament tennis strings. And this is a question that I've gotten in the past, so I have looked into it. I did a little bit of research, and I recently got asked this question again, so I just wanted to make a YouTube video and share what I learned. So with multifilament tennis strings, you'll generally find that there's these $20 tennis strings that are multifilament, and then there's $12 or $13 multifilaments, and then there's like $7, $8 multifilament tennis strings. And my initial gut reaction to it was maybe it's branding, like maybe you're paying for a name. But that's not necessarily true, because actually if you look at Techno Fibers line, for example, they have their $20 tennis strings, NRG2, X1 biphase, but then also they have their $12, $13 tennis strings that are also multifilament tennis strings. So it's got to be more to it, right? And looking into it, found that one of the core reasons why they cost what they cost is the materials that they're made out of. And the two materials that multifilament tennis strings are mostly made out of are called polyamide or polyurethane. And I have some tennis strings here we can take a look at. So here's a very common one, Wilson NXT. See that price tag, $20. And if we read the back here, proprietary Xychrome microfibers impregnated with PU for incredible film comfort. That picture here is that multiple filaments, which is what multifilament is, and PU means polyurethane. So polyurethane is one of the common materials that is used for making tennis strings, and obviously it's the more expensive one because it's a $20 multifilament. Take a look at another one. Here is Head Velocity MLT, a very popular tennis string as well. And this one is a polyamide. You can read that there. It says polyamide multifilament core surrounded by outer wrap, provide a perfect combination of power and comfort. So hopefully the video captures that. I'm just using my phone camera. But yeah, this is a polyamide, probably nylon. Nylon is a type of polyamide, and it's the most common polyamide probably. And yeah, I'm like 99% sure this is nylon. And once again, this is the same idea where they wrap multiple strings together, multiple filaments together to make a tennis string, versus a single core. Like one of the defining characteristics of synthetic gut is usually it's a single core, versus multifilament, which is multiple filaments made into the core. So let's see, a couple more strings. Here's the X1 biphase. Let's see what it says. Highest performing multifilament, playability, integrity, and durability above the TFPU multi-average. So we got PU there again, which is polyurethane. This is also a great string. It feels so soft and plush. It's great for if you have a tennis elbow. So just a quick chemistry rundown from 10 years ago when I took chemistry in university, just the intro course. But polyamide is poly, which is many, polyamide, which means it's a amide bond that's holding these polymers together, versus polyurethane, which is poly, once again, many, and then urethane, which is, I think they're called the urethane bonds. So there's polymers that are connected either by a urethane bond or a amide bond. And I'll stop there because I know I probably lost like 80% of my viewership just trying to explain that. But essentially the process to make them is very complicated and different. Nylon is actually simpler. You take the chemicals you need, you put them at high temperature, you mix them, and these are very high temperatures, by the way. I think it's like 400 or 500 degrees. And then they're cooled down, they're hardened, and then they're wrapped into the tennis string. And of course, the additives are added throughout the process, versus polyurethane, which it doesn't actually need to be that hot. I think they only go up to like 100 degrees. And then there's additives added as part of the process, but there's multiple steps as they're adding the chemicals at different steps to produce polyurethane. And polyurethane is a common material found in furniture. Like my kitchen chairs have polyurethane in them. They're very soft and plush. And with tennis strings also, you'll kind of feel it. Like polyurethane tennis strings, they're so soft, they're so plush, they feel great. Nylon strings, they feel a little bit stiffer. The nylon multifilaments, they feel a little bit more firm. And that's just the characteristics of the chemicals. And the process to make them, since they're so different, they also have a significant cost difference. So that's, I think, a lot of where the cost difference is coming from. Is polyurethane, it requires a lot more expertise to make a tennis string, versus polyamides like nylons, it's a much more simple process to make a tennis string. And that's also, I think, a reason why when you look at the very cheap multifilament tennis market or tennis strings market, they're almost, I think they're all nylon tennis strings. They probably just keep the process very simple, very low additives, you know. But sorry about the edit, I got interrupted. But yeah, we were talking about polyurethane versus polyamides, different process, different expertise. Yeah, and actually polyurethane itself, the process does include nylon, because polyurethane is too weak of a material in itself to make a tennis string out of it. So they use a nylon base, and then they'll add PU to it, like we read about in that Technofiber string. Also, you read about it here in the NXT where they said impregnated with PU. Wait, impregnated? Come on, Wilson. Okay, anyways, impregnated with PU for incredible feel and comfort. And yeah, we can all agree that those PU impregnated strings feel great and they have great comfort. Highly recommend it for people who have tennis elbow. I recommend it more than synthetic gut and more than nylon tennis multifilaments. Cause like, especially like when you're like practicing serves, you know, like that's like really, really hard on your elbow. Especially like practicing like flat serves. But if you're practicing flat serves with like polyurethane tennis string, you know, it's not gonna hurt you as much the next day. And that's really important, because if you're recovering, you know, you wanna be making progress towards healing, like, but you also wanna play tennis, right? So maybe polyurethane, even though it's a little bit more expensive, is a great compromise where, you know, you can't have everything. It's either gonna be cheap and problematic, or it's gonna be expensive, but you can keep playing tennis, you know, so yeah, anyways, a little bit sidetracked. So yeah, that's those are the two fundamental differences that I found for why they cost what they cost. There is some name brand to it, but a lot of it is material. Of course, the cheap tennis strings, you know, they probably is the bare minimum material plus no name, you know, so that's why they're so cheap. And it depends on what you need them for. If if cost is really important to you and durability is more important to you, then the nylon tennis strings, like what we had here with the Head Velocity MLT, is probably a better choice for you, because polyurethane tennis strings are not as durable. But if feel and comfort is the most important thing to you, then yeah, you should be looking into try out multiple different polyurethane strings, because they're all different and some are more brittle than others. Yeah, or like, oh, another good example is hybrids. Are you trying to do a hybrid setup with a polyester? Then I do not recommend using polyurethane tennis strings, because it's that polyester, you know, that stiff poly is going to be cutting into that multifilament, cutting those individual little filaments one by one. And polyurethane is very weak. You'll probably snap a string in like one day of playing. Versus the nylon tennis multifilament tennis strings, those are going to last a little bit longer. They're still going to be cutting into those. Like, honestly, that's why synthetic gut is probably the best option for people who do hybrid setups, is because synthetic gut is single core, so you don't have to worry about that polyester cutting into, you know, every string each time you hit the ball. But then again, also some people, like I know one guy who he's a really high level player, but he loves polyurethane cross, and he loves X1 biphase as his cross. And his main, he uses the Luxolon 4G, which is, you know, like as stiff as they get. But like, I've played with this racket, and yeah, it does feel amazing. It feels great, but he's okay with paying a little bit extra for string jobs more often. But also, I mean, that's not this racket he's playing with when he's playing tournaments. That's just when he's like doing lessons and doing rallying. He really likes that setup. Yeah, because when he's playing tournaments where he has to get his strings strung often, then yeah, it's just not happening. It's just too expensive. But anyways, sorry, I'm rambling. There was just one more thing I want to talk about before I end this video, and that's some property called hydrophobicness, or hydrophobia, or hydrophobic. Anyways, hydrophobic level of the tennis string. The multifilament tennis strings, when they are made from polyamide nylons, nylons are actually not hydrophobic. So that means that they absorb water and they release water very well. So that's why when you play with Velocity MLT, Wilson Sensation, so forth, they start getting that crunchiness, you know, like they're kind of like crusty, is like a better word. Like when you try to move the strings, you know, it makes that sound and it doesn't move very well, it doesn't slide. Versus when you play with like NRG 2 or X1 Biphase or Wilson NXT or Rexus or whatnot, the strings, they still snap back well, they're still sliding even after weeks and weeks, and it's because they're hydrophobic, which means that they don't absorb water well. So, I mean, it may seem counterintuitive because maybe if it absorbs water well, doesn't that mean that it should be absorbing water and not get crusty? But it's actually not. It's the opposite. The like once every time you hit the string, every time there's stress put on the string, you know, you're losing water. Also, if it's hot, the water's probably evaporating off the string more than being absorbed. But maybe, I don't know, it's different for different areas you play in. I live in a really dry area, so since it's so dry, you know, like when you first play with that multi-filament tennis string made out of nylon, it feels great. It feels fine. But then after even just like 20 minutes of play, it's immediately crusty. It's like you have to pull it back every time after each point, and like it probably doesn't affect your game that much, especially if you strung it at higher tensions. But it's kind of, you know, it still gets in your mind, and for me, I don't like having to move the strings back every point. Versus polyurethane tennis strings, they're going to snap back. They're not going to get crusty on you. It's because they are not affected by water. So they're not releasing water that they've absorbed, which means that, yeah, they're going to keep their slick properties. Which is another reason why I don't like oil coatings, because oil coatings don't last very long, but that's a different topic for a different day. So I hope that video helped. I'm sorry I rambled so much. That's not my intention. Hope that helps. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.